So where were you born?
Rockford.
Rockford. What
Rockford.
year? When were you born?
June 6th, 1924.
So what did your parents do?
Pardon?
What did your parents do?
My father worked here,
Okay.
and my mom was a homemaker.
What years did your dad work out here?
What year did my dad start here? Ho, ho, ho. Before I was born. Okay, my dad was born in Ireland, and he came here, and he was 7 years old, so he came here in 1909. He came to Rockford.
He was fairly young when he started to work here.
Oh.
That's the only. His father worked here, his brother, and cousins, and then of course his two sisters, and my sister and I, his brother, some uncles, brother-in-laws. No, there was quite a few of us that worked here that were all related. We all lived right around Rockford here, so yeah.
Do you remember why your dad moved here from Ireland? Can you ever tell your stories about that?
Mostly the reason that most people moved from Europe, religion and just hope for a better life, you know. He was born in Belfast, so.
Where was your mom from?
She was from Illinois, yeah. She came out here on her brother's motorcycle when she was 16 years old after her mom had died. Her mom had died when she was 14, so.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
I am the oldest of 14.
Oh. I'm the oldest of 3. I can't
Yeah.
even imagine.
There's 3 of us gone. So.
So what did you guys do for fun growing up?
For fun? Play on the river down here. Yeah, I mean, mostly games that kids play. But we did play a lot in the river because we lived on the Brickyard farm and also where the golf course is, also across the road here, different years as we were growing up. And when I started to school, we lived down by, I call it it's Franklin place. I don't know if you know.
I can't place it.
Okay, who lives down there now? Let's see. It's just east of the golf course there, around that curve as you go around there. I don't know for sure who lives there now.
Okay. I know that.
But my grandparents lived in the one place, and then my grandmother Euchre lived in the other, and we lived in that place one time when I started to school. So,
So did you go to school at Rockford all the way through?
right.
What year did you graduate?
42.
42.
Yeah.
What did you do after high school then?
Taught school for 4 years. I taught country school 4 years, and I worked in the brickyard.
Where did you teach school at?
I taught country school. The first school I taught was east of Rudd. The second one was south here, Scott Township. Was down where, Mosers lived. Jeffries, some of them lived down there. was a second, there was 2 houses on this road going south, well, south here, and I was in the second one.
Okay.
So Wayne Parcher was the school director of that one. And then the third year I taught was the school right out here where Marie Wiggin lived. And then the 4th year I taught south of Charles City in Pleasant Grove. And then I got married after school was out that year.
Oh, so when you got married, is that why you started out here?
That's when we lived on a farm. Well, Floyd was the address. It was halfway between Rudd and Floyd. Doc Fields owned it, and we raised turkeys. We lived there from 40, see, we farmed that from 46 to 53. December of 53, we moved into town. My husband bought a portable mill, and he ran a feed mill out of Rudd, and then in 66 he started working at, late in 65, he started working for a Child's Company, repairing office machines, typewriters and adding machines and stuff in Charles City. And I started to work, I worked at Postmaster from 63 to 66, and then I started at the Extension office in Charles City in October of 66. And I worked there until I retired in 82.
Okay.
So
when did you start at Rockford?
what did I write?
When did you start at Rockford?
I worked here summers after I graduated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So between school years.
Yeah, yeah.
What did you do out here then?
I did a lot of different jobs. I worked on the table, which is this picture here. I made junctions for farmers tiling,
Okay.
and I packaged mortar mix. I drove a truck and delivered tile to the farmers.
Wow.
And then I worked in the Kilns too, pitching the tile to the wheelers.
Okay.
We call them wheelers. So I did the only thing I didn't do is wheel. Or I wasn't a fireman, which my grandfather was.
So how did your jobs change? Like, did you start out as one thing and then the next time you came?
I started out on the table, and then in between times I did the others.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I just kind of, they intermixed. If they needed me one place, why, that's what I did. And if they needed me somewhere else, that's what I did. So,
Really interesting.
Yeah.
What kind of hours did you work?
well, it was all day, so I don't remember what time we started. Started at the usual hours and started and worked till they closed at night. The only ones that worked at night was the burners.
Okay.
Yeah. Firemen, burner, we called them burners, I guess, at the time, so. But
What was a typical day at work like?
hot. Sometimes they would open up a kiln that had finished firing, and it would get up around 200 degrees in there. They tried to cool off down to at least 100 before we went in to
Oh, yeah.
pitch the tile to the wheelers. But it was hot. And the summers seemed hot, but now it would seem scorching hot right there. But you know, as young people didn't notice the heat then, but as you can see, we always wore something around our hair. But it was hot.
Wow. So what did you get paid? Do you remember?
Somebody asked me that today, the girls that brought my lunch. I think it was between 25 and 50 cents, I think, is
An hour?
an hour.
Was
So it wasn't a lot, you know. I mean, during the war, and
Yeah.
it just a lot different than now.
Yeah. What was the best thing about that job?
Give me some spending money.
Yeah. I bet.
Yeah.
What was the worst thing about it? Just the heat?
I think the heat probably was the worst thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How difficult was the work? Were you pretty tired at the end of the day?
Well, I tell you, I was young, I was strong. I had, well, I tell you, I was the oldest, and then my sister, and then I had 5 or 6 brothers. So you kind of learn to hold your own, and you know, but it really wasn't difficult to me. I didn't think. You know, looking back, I don't think it was.
That's good. Did anything dangerous happen while you were out there, or did everything stay pretty safe?
Nothing that really interfered with us. I mean, of course, they had breakdowns and stuff, but nothing that really, you know. Even working with the prisoners, I didn't feel threatened or anything like that, because I often worked alone with 2 of the prisoners in the kilns when we were tiling, you know, pitch and tiling to them, and they were wheeling. And I often had one with me when I delivered tile, but there was usually a guard with me at that one too. But I never felt threatened by them.
Talk a little more about those prisoners. Where did they come from?
Okay, they were German war prisoners. They were housed at the Wildwood golf course in Charles City. And my uncle, he was from Germany. He spoke German, and he would haul them in the back of a car, and I think there was probably 15 or 20 of them at least, every morning, and take them back. And he also hauled them to Algona when they had, you know, when they had them over there too, which they did quite a bit over there. And I can remember at times when I would hitch a ride with him on the truck, but I'd walk or stand on the running board, and he would take me into town. And of course the guard would be in with him, and of course the prisoners would all be in the back. I could remember they were starting to tease me, and my uncle, he'd reach out the window and put his arm around me and hold me there, and then he'd talk to him. What he said to him, I don't know.
So, with him speaking German, is he the one that told him kind of what to do at work?
Well, some of them, I think, could speak some, they knew what, and I imagine the guards, if I remember right, they must have spoke German. They had to have. But some of them, I think, got pretty good at speaking English, you know, enough to understand us and what to do. I can remember there was enough of us women working there, and of course we lived up here on the hill, and they weren't really fed that good. So some of our mothers, my mother and some of the other women, would fix hot dishes and bring down at noon for them, or send them with us in the mornings to feed them, and they appreciated that, so they did.
Did your mother ever kind of getting in trouble, get any flack for feeding them?
No, the guards were real good. I think they understand. They just kind of turned the other way when we did that, you know. Because some of them were real young. There was one, my uncle said he was always going to come back to the United States. He was 18 at the time, and the guard said that he cried himself to sleep every night. He'd been a prisoner for 4 years. So that made it 14 when he was taken prisoner. Now, can you imagine a 14-year-old being prisoner that long, and how homesick? But he said a lot of them were homesick, but he said this one, he'd cry himself to sleep every night. Yeah, I mean, I was young, so I guess I didn't, realize, I felt sorry for the guys. I guess you could say that's about what it, and I think most of us women felt that way towards them, and so we started feeding them.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Were they pretty nice to you? And
Yes, they were. Very, very polite. We never had any trouble with them, not any of them. Some of them were the older ones were engineers. I know I could remember they had trouble with the elevator that took or dug clay and brought it up into the building, and they had some problems electrically or mechanically with it, and there was one of them, he was real smart that way, and he fixed it for them.
wow.
Yeah.
So what kind of duties did they kind of take over around here?
They just did everything. They worked with us. A lot of it was with the harder work of the getting the clay up, the wheeling, setting in the kilns, and they just about did everything. So.
Were you still working here when the war ended?
Pardon?
Were you still working out here when the war ended?
Yes.
How did that change things?
Well, they had kind of trouble, I think, finding, because a lot of the young boys had gone to the service, right out of high school. So there were, and a lot of them were older men, and some of them were, dying. But I think they were kind of hurting for help afterwards for a while, yeah. And I could remember my brother was in the service, my oldest brother was in the service, and he was stationed out to Washington, and he was on the ship that shipped them, a lot of the prisoners, back to Europe. I can remember him saying that, so I'm just not sure what year that was. I just don't. But yeah, they needed help. I mean, we were almost desperate for help because, like I said, a lot of the young men that I had graduated with and everything had gone. Yeah, some of them even before they graduated. So.
Were there any jobs that you women did during the war that you weren't allowed to do anymore, or did they let you do the same stuff?
Down at the brickyard, you mean? Oh God, I don't know, because it changed a lot, I think, after that. But I don't know just how. I don't know how to answer that one, because it closed. I'm not sure just what year the brick and tile here closed, and then the one at Mason City. I'm just not sure what they closed or how they changed. I can remember when they built a new office building down here. We were still working there then at that time, but that had built right afterwards. And I don't even remember who was working there then.
What was the last year that you worked out here then? What was the last time you worked out?
Oh, God. I was trying to think. I was teaching school during the year, and in the summers I'd work down there, so let's see, we lived. I'm just not sure. It would have had to have been 44, probably 43, 44, when I, maybe even later. because I'm not sure on the date on that. Well, it had, okay, this was taken in 45, so it had to been after that. So, after the war ended. Oh, you got the names of them all on here. I don't think there's, as far as I know, there's only 2 of us living. Okay, now, this is Vera Bonson, and her husband was running the table, what do you call it there? That's her husband up there. And then this next lady is a Mrs. Weibel, and here just recently somebody, it must have been her daughter, because I don't think she's living, I'm not sure, asked about me. And then this is Susie Mayman. She at one time was married to my Uncle Bob, my dad's brother. And then me, and then my sister, Thomasina, and then my Aunt Minnie, and that was my dad's sister. So, we really...
So did you girls go out a lot after work and on the weekends?
No, we didn't. I mean, most of them were married except my sister and I. And they all lived in town. Their husbands worked at the brickyard too, so it was, you know, it's kind of a family deal.
Were there any girls working out here that had husbands over in Europe or in the Pacific?
No.
They were all husbands were.
They were all, yeah.
Was that?
But some of them, probably, let's see, okay, some of them had, well, I don't know, okay, they wouldn't be old enough to have been in the service at that time. I was engaged to a boy that was in the service and died in New Guinea. And I was working out here at the time, too. And my sister's husband was in the Navy, but she wasn't married at that time. She met him later, after he got out. But he had gone into the service fairly young, too. So it was... No, I don't recall any of them being having children that were in the service at the time. We were all... Well, this picture's got a couple of my aunts. I had 3 aunts that were working here. And the one is the wife of the guy that drove the prisoners back and forth. She worked out here too, part of the time. So I got all the names. Well, some of these I don't know anymore. Okay. Some of these, it's Beulah Bathurst, Betty Lewis, Mrs. Weibel. Mrs. Weibel's the one I've she might be living yet, but she was a little older than me. In fact, she was quite a bit older. Mrs. Ted Fredericks, Mrs. Orville Shaw. Some of these I don't remember. But it was, you know, we worked hard, we worked long hours, so it was.
So did most of you women come out here just to have jobs?
Yeah, and to help out because when all the young guys, you know, went to the service, why somebody had to do it, and they said they'd hire women, and we were all strong and healthy, so they hired us.
What kind of training did you have to go through to be a teacher?
None. We just started out. They showed us what to do, and Of course, like I said, my dad had worked there for years, so I was familiar with what went on, you know, as the women did too, because their husbands worked there, so, I mean, they were familiar with it and knew what had to be done. And so it wasn't, I mean, it just kind of came naturally, I guess. So, like I said, we were all healthy.
When you became a teacher, what did you have to learn? Go to college or do anything like that?
We took, at that time, you took normal training, what they called normal training, and you took certain subjects in high school, and you could teach the country schools then. And you got a 2-year certificate, and then after that, because it was during the war, they could be renewed without going on to college. But if after that, after the war ended, we would have had to go to college if we wanted to keep on teaching. So
what was that like, teaching in a country schoolhouse?
what was that like? Well, you had 8 grades, and you had to haul coal in and haul drinking water in, and there was no bathrooms, of course. It was all outhouses. It was interesting because you didn't always have all 8 grades. Usually, I think about the most I think I had was maybe 13 students, and sometimes in March when farmers moved at that time, sometimes it got down to, you know, might have had only 6 or 7 kids. And it was very seldom that they didn't close the school when they got down that low. But during the war, they did let them, you know, go ahead and teach. Fanny Howell was our superintendent of schools, and she was located in the courthouse at Charles City, and she passed out all the material that we had for teaching and stuff. And it was interesting. You met all kinds of kids. Some of them were a problem, and you learned to deal with it. I mean, at that time you could discipline in school. It's not like now. But it was good. We had a good time.
How was it? Was it challenging to have to teach so many different grade levels, and how did you deal with that?
Well, we had certain lessons and books. I didn't think it was a problem because we set up classes like first grade. Maybe would have a class. I think you were able to do more one-on-one with kids because sometimes you only had one child, in a class, and while you were holding class for one class, while the others would study. I mean, you kind of, and being there wasn't as many, it's not like it is nowadays, but I guess I didn't find any problem anyway, though. It was just, and when we put on our Christmas programs and stuff, the kids really were into it and enjoyed it. And we always had like a potluck meal when we had stuff like that. And it was really interesting, really. I enjoyed it.
That's good, that's good. How far away did some of the kids come? Do you remember?
Oh, not more than 3 miles at the most.
How did most of them get there? Did they walk into the tent?
Most of them walked, or some would ride bikes, but once in a while you'd probably find, if they lived if they lived more than a mile and a half, 2 miles, why the parents would bring them. But most of them had to walk. I walked to school, you know. So it just, I mean, those days you just didn't have the things you do now. A lot different.
Did you end up having any kids?
Did I what?
Have any kids?
I had 2 girls.
2 girls.
Right.
And when were they born?
One was born in 48 and the other one in 53. And the oldest girl lives in Oklahoma. And she has a daughter that lives there just within a mile of her, has 5 children. And she has a boy, Doug Washington, who lives at Chapin. He has 4 children. And then my youngest daughter lives in Eau Claire, and she had 2 girls. One lives at Marion, Iowa, and she has a daughter, little gal. She isn't quite 3 yet. And her oldest girl lives in Eau Claire, and she has a boy that was just 5. So I've got 11 great-grandkids and 4 grandchildren.
Did your 2 girls graduate from Rockford then?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Right.
So what did your husband, you said he ran a mill?
Yeah, when we first were married, we farmed.
Okay.
And then he ran a feed mill for 11 years. And then he was a technician repairing office machines.
Okay.
Until he retired in, okay, let's see, 84. I retired in 86. Yeah, I retired. He retired at 84 and I retired at 86, so. Yeah, but he, after he retired, he did a lot of farm work, helping farmers, lawn mowing, so he kept busy.
That's good. How important would you say the company was to the local economy?
Well, very. It was about the only, let's see, there was a mill down by the dam. There was a creamery. And of course there was implement dealer, several grocery stores, a bank, hardware, a variety store, let me think. A couple of gas stations. It was very important. It was. Then I don't know what year Harold Trenton started his. He started out with chickens, and then he went to turkeys. Now he's in the hog business, but I'm not sure just what year it was he started that. So, but it was post office, hardware store. Mm-hmm. So Rockford was really, you know, mm-hmm. and the brickyard employed a lot of men, a lot of local. They were all local, as far as I know. So it was very good.
Do you remember anything? In 1959, there was a strike. Do you remember anything about that?
When was that?
59, from what I found.
I was living over at Floyd at that time. My husband and I were farming, and I don't know a whole lot about that, no.
Good. Can I have you explain to me the process that it went from clay to finished product?
Oh boy.
As best as you can remember.
Well, okay, the clay pits, they had to get that all elevated up to the, well, where they, I'm not sure just what they did. They must have got it, because I know we had what we called mortar mix, and then that went, and somehow they, whatever they did up here, they mixed it with water and stuff, and went through a press, I guess you'd call it press, where we then took it, put it on the table, and then they put it in the kilns. And I was trying to think of the temperature that they had to get that kiln up to bake that. And when that come, they left that in there so long, and I'm not sure just how long that was, but when it was done, they cooled the kilns down, and then we went in and we pitched the tile to the wheelers, and they would stack them out or load trucks with them. They usually had stacks of them clear out, you know, for the different sizes, because they made all sizes of them. And the person that made the junctions would do so when the tile come off this table here before they were put in the kiln. We made the junctions, and then they were put on a separate table and put into the kilns to be done. And then they had a train, of course, that tracks that come over, and they'd load them on to go out, or trucks to the farmers. And like I said, I had taken some to the farmers, yeah, for tiling. A lot different than it is now. But they went, I'm going to see up here where they had, once in a while the machine would break down, and thank goodness for the guys that run it, they knew what to do. Other than that, once in a while they'd have like some of the tables or carts that they put the tile on and go off the tracks in the kilns when it was hot, and that was always a job because they'd have to cool it down, and then you check for, there was always some tile that broke or cracked that you couldn't use, but I mean that was just part of the work. And brick, they made brick too. Now brick was heavy, and they were heavy to load and stuff, but you had instruments that you could, you know, load them. Like we always had tongs that had two like that, and you could put them in when they were hot. When I was in the kilns, there wasn't too many of the women that worked in the kilns themselves after the tile were all fired. I'd pitch them to the wheelers, and most of them took just like one in a hand. The men always took two, and I took two in each hand. That's why my knuckles are big. But the men always took the two, so I always took the two. But it was heavy. The brick was the heaviest to do. That was a lot different. So I was trying to think how they were standing, so that way you can see we were standing beside the brick there. But that's.
How did they cool down the kilns? Did they just?
They just opened them up and put fans on. They were open on each side, two doors, and they put fans in there then to cool them down. So.
Did they ever like spray water on them to cool them?
No. They just had to cool down by themselves. Yeah, and with the fans to take the hot air out, because it got hot in there. It was real hot. And a lot of times it was, if they were in need of tile somewhere real bad where they needed to fill some orders, sometimes it was hotter than what we really should have been in there, you know, because hot outside and hot in there, why,
Yeah.
it was pretty bad, so. Oh boy. Okay, that's the burners. Let's see, which direction here? Is this west? Let's see.
That I can't tell you.
Is this a picture of Rockford's?
Uh-huh. These, I know, the big long things, I know.
Okay, this was on the north side. The tracks run along here. Okay, this must have been. I'm trying to turn this away. Is this supposed to be north? That can't, no, that can't be. You don't look right.
Well, it's a little bit later.
Of course, in later years, okay, they had built this office and stuff over there after I had left. Is this supposed to be south? That don't look. I think. It just doesn't look right. Because it just doesn't look right. It's turned around or something. And some of these buildings were built after I'd left.
It's a later picture.
And it's confusing. Yeah, see that office, and then the... Okay, this is back up into the woods. Oh, it's confusing.